Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll show you how I removed and repaired the steering wheel controls of my Jaguar X-type. As time goes on, the steering wheel controls of many cars start glitching. You press the volume up but the volume goes down. Sometimes the preset radio stations are scrolled instead of increasing the volume and so on. I removed the buttons and repaired them without disconnecting the battery of the car. I did everything in 3 easy steps. At the same time, I did it without any risk of deploying the airbag. So let's begin. Step 1. First of all, I had to remove the airbag. I used a T30 Torx L key to unscrew the Torx bolts securing the airbag. At the same time, I had to keep the airbag firmly with the other hand so that to prevent the horn from beeping. I would better make use of a small ratchet, but I hadn't got a Torx bit long enough to reach the bolt. The bolt sits at a definite angle to the surface, so it's not quite easy to fit the key into the bolt head at a correct angle. You see, I did my best not to cover the process of unscrewing from the camera, so that to show you the correct angle. I repeated the same on the other side of the steering wheel. The Torx bolts remain sitting on their place even after I unscrewed them. They cannot be taken out, they just let you remove the airbag from its place. In the very end of unscrewing the bolts, I was making use of a small ratchet, but unfortunately, as I told you, I had no T30 Torx bit long enough to reach the bolt from the very beginning. When both the bolts were unscrewed and taken out as much as the steering wheel design allowed me, I tried and removed the airbag from where it sits. Here I didn't unplug it, since I hadn't my car battery disconnected. I just drew it aside to get access to the steering wheel controls. I zoomed in both the bolt holes so that you could get an idea how the airbag is secured on the steering wheel. Step 2. After turning the airbag clockwise, I got an access to the cruise control buttons. I unscrewed the 2 T20 Torx bolts securing the controls. I was making use of a small ratchet and a Torx bit, because this time I didn't need any long bits to reach the bolts. After unscrewing the bolts, I removed the controls from where they belong and I plugged the connector. Here it is. The same I did to the stereo controls. I turned the airbag counterclockwise, unscrewed 2 T20 Torx bolts and removed the controls. I unplugged the connector and here you see the controls are taken apart. I removed the steering wheel controls without unplugging the airbag and without any risk of deploying it, you see. After that I moved to step 3, taking apart and repairing the buttons. Specially for you, I took apart a cruise control button and I found inside exactly the same contacts I could fairly see from outside. The only advantage was that I learned what the steering wheel controls contacts look like when the button was removed. You see, there was a flat spring inside. I removed it and installed it once again. There were the same bronze contacts, nothing special. I could easily clean them without removing the button and put it to the risk of breaking the plastic. So I got some 99% isopropyl alcohol, sprayed it on electrical contacts with a medical syringe and pressed the buttons some 20-30 times. I prefer to make use of an isopropyl alcohol because it is harmless for plastic the steering wheel controls are made of. Isopropyl easily removes dirt and deoxidizes the contacts. After the contacts are cleaned, it can be easily evaporated with the help of a hairdryer. So I sprayed the isopropyl on all the contacts of both cruise control and the stereo control buttons. Press them some 20 times as well to remove dirt and oxide from them, you see. The matter is that the purpose of this procedure is to get rid of any additional resistance caused by oxide and moisture and restore the OEM factory resistance the stereo unit reacts on. The voltage drop across each resistor is different depending on which button is pressed, so the radio unit measures the voltage and gets to know which button is pressed. The same applies to the cruise control unit. After all the buttons were thoroughly cleaned, I went on drying them with a hairdryer. I could have omitted this step, but I preferred to be on the safe side to be sure that there is no moisture, no any remnants of alcohol, which is still considered a poor electrical conductor. I installed the steering wheel controls as well as the airbag, doing everything in the reverse order to removing them. Nothing interesting to see, but I would like just to mention that it took about 3 hours to install the airbag, since it is extremely tricky to fit the bolts securing the airbag at a correct angle. I haven't included it here, since this process deserves to shoot a separate video about it. And here you can see that as a result of today's repairs, all the controls are working properly, and I am extremely happy, and I wish the same to you.